Just want to do a quick video. This one's going to be the cost plus versus fixed pricing. That's the two contracts that anybody that's going into any kind of a contract with construction, new builds, renovations, because these two types of contracts are very different. And depending on what your project is, I'll outline what I think is best in this video here. I'll start with fixed pricing. If you're not doing a very complex project, this one's probably your better option. And the reason I say that, it's more budget friendly. Of course, the builder has to be, or contractor has to be a little more organized, get the quotes together, because they are fixing the price. They are saying that this is the number we're going with. And to me, that's important. Typically, you get viewers in a fixed pricing contract. And when I say that, if something comes up, like price fluctuations, delays, supply chain delays, those kind of things would be typically covered in a fixed contract. And I say this because good reputable builders have good contracts and good relationships with the vendors. And so supply chain issues and delays aren't very common. I'm not saying but they honor their price. I mean, if they've locked in, for a couple months, whatever, as long as it's not dragged out, and, the start date, then they're going to honor it. That's pretty important as far as I'm concerned. Easier financing is another one. Banks like to know that price is fixed, no surprises for them. And that's huge. It's peace of mind for yourself and for the lender. I mean, nothing worse than you're closing on your property or your renovation and you've got $50,000 off from what the target was that you're allowed for. And I have seen that several times where a client I was actually at a show home a few years, and a client that I knew was building with it. And I asked them, how was it going and that, and they said, well, Scott, we're actually not moving into the house. And I was like, why? Because they were going to be right down the street from us. And he said, well, the problem is they increased all the prices on everything. And this one was more of that was a cost plus situation and wasn't fixed pricing. And this particular builder was known for doing cost plus. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But anyway, they were very upset. This was their dream home. They're pretty excited. And they had to walk from that because they were significantly over what they were approved for. You got more leverage with a fixed contract. And that's why I'm always pushing for this. I mean, there's different circumstances where the cost plus situation comes in and it's warranted. But if you're doing, something that is not too crazy of a custom build, you're not out on an acreage where there's lots of surprises, you're in a normal subdivision with utilities and everything brought to the site. So when I say leverage, you can ask for more because they're still trying to earn your business, the contractor, builder, whoever it is that's going to be doing the work for you. So if you get them at the beginning, before you sign the contract, you're definitely going to get more included and more covered. And make sure the contract has everything. And I do have this on my website, scottgrosel.com, for checklists to making sure you've got yourself covered. And I'm going to go into the cons for the fixed pricing. And you do have a little bit less flexibility. They're not going to make a whole lot of changes, but that's okay. I mean, you've got yourself into a contract that you're happy with. At this point, you hopefully have everything that you want included in the build. Of course, whenever it's fixed pricing, they're going to have a contingency set into the build. And everybody does, just in case something comes up unforeseen, but they're taking on a risk. So they're going to have some kind of a buffer in there. And in most cases, it gets used. So whatever that buffer is, just understand that. But once again, it's still included in your final price. This is not a separate item. This is all inclusive. Now we'll go into the cost plus. The cons are there's no budget ceiling. So the numbers can go anywhere. So with cost plus, the client, contractor agree on all materials, all labor, everything, soft costs, everything are cost plus a certain amount, usually 10 to 20%. Everything should be transparent, shown, this is the number, and cost plus. Take that number, add 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever that number is that's agreed upon. That's the contract. So if you start increasing your budgets for your cabinets, millwork, custom millwork and stuff like that, that's gonna drive the cost up. But you do have control of it. But you have to be very much on top of that. and I'll get into the cons of this one. This is the area, the cost plus situation is the area that I really caution, because I run into a lot of clients that reach out to me regularly because they're having issues. And you need to know beforehand, even better, but during the course of construction, 6 to 12 months, whatever that takes, there's a lot of things that can go kind of sideways. The other thing with the cost plus is potential savings. If everything's managed well, and I mean that on the builder side, or contractor side, either or, if they're managing the site well and looking out for your best interest, then it's a good situation. And it comes with the trust. And if you have that with your builder, contractor, that's great. I mean, research, reviews, talk to different people that have built with them in this situation, because that number varies by contractor. The cons with this one, like I said, there's no budget. It fluctuates throughout the build. You do absorb any increases in materials, any changes, cost plus. So those kind of things really add up. Hopefully you're working with a builder that's reputable, like I said, and they have trades that hold the same kind of ethics. A lot of times what you do see is, if they know it's cost plus, they're going to add a premium, because at the end of the day, they get whatever that number is. The higher the number is at the end, the more money they get at the end. So there's not really an incentive to look for the cheaper options, the more. And I don't mean that the quality is going to be cheaper. I'm just saying there's sloppy ways of doing processes, and they cost more money. And if there's no incentive to save money, because if it's fixed pricing, they're definitely going to be a lot more on top of where the numbers are at. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I see going sideways. The trades do get comfortable. They're usually been working with the contractor or builder for a long time. Ask for 3 different quotes, checks and balances. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is your money. So those are the ones I wanted to bring up for the cost plus versus the fixed pricing. Very important. Visit my website, scottgrosel.com. I get into a lot more than I do I don't like doing a long video. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. scottgrosel.com. Check out, like and subscribe my video. I'm trying to get all kinds of information out there in the next coming months. Follow and send this off to somebody that you think could use this. So thank you very much for taking the time to check out my video, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.